How's it going, guys? I'm Chirag from CP Utility Solutions. Been running my own company for probably just over 2.5 years now. Been doing plumbing and heating for about 5 years. We started in social housing. That's where I gained all my breakdown experience, and then decided to go up on my own after I felt confident enough, had enough experience, and this is where I am now. I've always been very hands-on. Even from a young age, working at home with my dad, doing DIY projects and things like that. I tried working in an office. I've got a degree in financial maths, so the whole plan was to go down the whole route of either becoming an accountant, or if I did medicine, a doctor, dentist, this, that, the other. But I did some work experience working in an office, and I couldn't stand it, to be honest. So decided to start working with my hands, did a plumbing and heating course, and the rest is history. So coming from an Asian background, I'm sure a lot of other Asian people can relate to this. The stigma was to grow up and become a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, something to do with education or something to do with the degree, and then use that as your life career, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because obviously where my parents has come from, India, they had quite a tough upbringing, and they only want the best for their kids, which I totally get. But being born and brought up in this country, things were different for me growing up rather than my parents. So I tried the whole education route, and I did do the education route. I did go to uni and did all that. And after a few different experiences, I tried a couple of different things out, and it just wasn't for me. So the next thing I thought of was something to do with my hands, which is where I fell into plumbing and heating, because I used to do a lot of DIY stuff around the house. And that's where my sort of passion grew with plumbing and heating. And it was also the challenging aspect of it as well. It was learning something new, learning how a system works, learning how problems can occur and how to problem solve. And that's what really grew my enthusiasm to go into plumbing and heating, and specifically breakdowns. There's a lot of challenges that we come across being a plumbing and heating engineer. The main thing I'd say is price, because pricing a job, everyone prices differently. You've got people who are starting off, pricing going in cheap just to make sure they can get customers. Where you live in the country also makes a difference. So people outside of London, their pricing might be cheaper. I'm living in London, so my pricing is more. One of the most challenging aspects is knowing how much to charge for a particular job. And not only that, when you get into a job, no two jobs are ever going to be the same. Changing a radiator in one house and changing a radiator in another house, as simple as it sounds, it's not. You don't know what kind of system it is. You don't know how many radiators there are in the property. You don't know how big the system is. There's loads of factors to consider. So yeah, the challenges are endless. One thing that you do find when you, as a breakdown engineer, is that sense of satisfaction when you've overcome a repair which other people haven't been able to do. One which sticks with me is actually probably one of the first jobs that I had when I was working in social housing. So within my first week of working there, I was sent to a job where a customer had heating but no hot water. There had been 7 engineers who went in there before me, 7 experienced engineers, and no one could work it out what it was. I had literally no real knowledge, but what I did understand was the process of how a boiler works. So I followed the sequence of operation, and I narrowed it down to basically just a very small, and I'd say insignificant, but it's probably a very significant component because it's what's stopping them from getting hot water. It was the flow sensor on the boiler. So that was faulty. So when they were opening a hot tap, although there was water flowing through the boiler wasn't recognizing that there was a hot tap running, so it wasn't giving hot water. But if you flick the heating on, heating was absolutely fine. And that, for me, starting off very early in my career as a breakdown engineer, to be able to fix and get a boiler up and running, which 7 other experienced engineers weren't able to do, that was game changing for me. And for me, that really boosted my confidence. And from that point, I was like, right, I can do this. In our career, things are changing, especially the digital age that we're in at the moment. Everything's changing rapidly. So the way I keep up to date with things is social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Social media channels are probably going to be, as much as we feel that we're consumed by them, they're also a great source of information as well to be able to help you advance in your career, because there's things that I've learned, which is actually one of the key reasons why I started my social media channels, so on Instagram and YouTube, is because I was watching other people doing things in a different way, learning off of them, learning about new tools, new equipment, new technology. And off the back of that, whatever I've learned, I feel it's a way of me being able to give back as well. And that's how I feel anything that I picked up, new equipment, new technology or anything like that, which someone else might know, I can showcase it, I can introduce it, and it might help someone else out. So I get asked a lot about what's it like to work in this industry, is it difficult, is it easy? When I first started on this, I went onto a lot of forums and I was put off by it because a lot of people on there were saying, it's not worth it, it's not this, it's not that, it's very hard, it's difficult, you'll never make it, and this, that, the other. And it's very disencouraging and it puts you down. But for anyone who's new and want to come into the field, do it. Because I don't know what the exact statistics are, but what I've heard is that there are more engineers retiring than new engineers coming into the field. So there's definitely going to be a shortage of engineers at some point, if not already. The best thing I would say for someone new coming into the game is try and join up with a firm. Get a job with a company, which is what I did. It is a long process. There's no shortcut way about it. There is no shortcut way about it. When I was doing my time in social housing, I used to, when I was on call out especially, I could be out my house by 7:30 and not come back till 1 o'clock in the morning. I could go to sleep and I could get a call at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning for an uncontainable water leak, and I had to go out there. I remember the hardest week I had of call outs. It's embarrassing for me to say, I didn't shower for a whole week because I was literally going to sleep, coming home, going to sleep, maybe 4 or 5 hours, waking up, going to work, probably doing a 16, 17, 18 hour day, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. By the end of the week, I didn't know what day of the week it was, I didn't know what time it was, I stank, but that's the sort of graft you got to be prepared to put in. There is no shortcut, but the results speak for themselves. If you put in the time, you'll get out of it as well. Working in this industry, if you're a family man, you've got a partner or kids or anything like that, it does take its toll on you, and finding that balance, I'm still finding that balance. It's not easy, but you have to know when to say no, because I've been through stages where I literally wanted to pack it in because it was getting too much for me. You have to take a step back and you have to realize why you're doing this work, why you're putting all these hours in. It's for your family or for yourself, or you've got a purpose that you're doing it for. For me, it was my family. But if I was just working, not actually spending time with my family, what's the point of me going to work? Because I've got nothing to show for it in terms of commitment to my family. So you do have to find that balance. And being self-employed, although people think that, yeah, you're going to have more time, you don't really. And that's where time management is really crucial. When you're working for a company, you finish your hours, you come home, that's it. You haven't got to worry about anything unless you're on call out. You haven't got to worry about paper, you haven't got to worry about admin, invoicing, quoting, none of that. When you're self-employed, you're not only the engineer, you're HR, you're admin, your accounts, you're the cleaner, you're everything. So finding that balance is key. And I don't know if anyone has ever truly found that balance. We're always learning in this field and I'm still learning. So yeah, it is what it is. We're hearing a lot at the moment from government and things like that about renewables and things like that. I personally feel gas is still going to be around for a long time. I feel there's a little bit of scaremongering about they're pushing people to try and stop using gas and go into heat pumps and renewables, things like that. Obviously, there's a purpose behind it because for climate change and things like that, which is beneficial to our world. However, I don't think it's right for people to be put off by it or be scared that, oh, gas is going to run out or anything like that. My future plans are, I enjoy working with gas, I'm going to continue working with gas, but I have also done my F-gas course, and my next step is to probably look into air conditioning, because I feel that the way things are going, our summers are getting longer and hotter, winters are also still getting colder, but with air conditioning, you can do both heating and cooling. So the plan for me going forward at some point will probably be when boiler breakdowns get quieter in the summer, which they evidently do, maybe I can focus more on air conditioning. People are going to want cooling. When it gets to winter, flip the switch, go back into boilers, fixing boilers, doing breakdowns, installations, things like that. The field is, well, the world is your oyster. I know it's a cliche saying, but it really is. There's so much out there. there's no shortage of work. It's just about doing the job properly, make sure you've got a good customer base, getting good recommendations, and just providing the best service that you can. And obviously pricing, not stupidly, but correctly. And that pricing, I never really talk about pricing in my videos, and that's because everyone's pricing is different. My pricing will be different to yours, or to someone who's living up in Scotland, or someone who's living up in the Midlands. So I don't really talk about pricing. As long as you're getting the work in and the customers are happy with your pricing, then your pricing's right. There's nothing wrong with it. So yeah, going forward, the plan is hopefully air conditioning in the summer, carry on doing boilers in the winter.